kind of got to start out with an apology. A lot of you folks are over at the vendor's booth talking with me. Maybe you've noticed I'm not the greatest of conversationalists anymore. I can explain. I'm preoccupied. My wife and I have been getting in these little tiffs. Every time we do, she brings up the same theme. Ray, would you please get out of the 70s? Ladies, one thing about us guys, you know this. All you have to do is tell us to do something one time, we do it. I didn't want to hear this get out of the 70s stuff anymore. Our anniversary was coming up. I was going to go out and get her a gift by myself. I'm not going to bring any of my daughters to help me. I got 5 boys and 5 estrogen Americans. I'm not bringing any of my daughters to help me. My girls know their mother up one side, down the other. My boys don't even know they got a mother half the time. The average 5-year-old girl walks up to her mother, excuse me, mother? While I do appreciate the guidance you've given me on these first few years, I feel compelled to tell you you were wrong on most of it, okay? Why don't you raise Dad? He's got about 8 or 9 more years of middle school to go through. The average 16-year-old boy is still doing this. Mom, where's the ice cubes? No, I asked Dad. He don't know where they are either. My daughter Liz is 25. For the last 10 or so years, she's been able to run the whole family. My son Peter, 28, still giving his brother wedgies. You know, these are not the same species here. I didn't want to hear this get out of the 70s stuff anymore. Anniversary is coming up. I'm going to go out, get her a gift by myself. So I bought her one of those mood rings. See, that's kind of how she reacted, sort of like that. Okay, ladies, laugh. Those things work. They do. She's in a good mood, turns green. She's in a bad mood, leaves a red mark on my forehead. I have been a shrink for over 45 years. I've been shrinking for 45 years. I used to be like 6'9". In the time I've been doing this, I have watched discipline become a dirty word, a word of psychological last resort, a word of only you unsophisticates who can't get cooperation through iMessages and active listening and sticker systems. What is going on? Many of you have raised your children. My belief is that the grandparents in here were the last ones to know across the board who the parent was. You parented out of a mindset, I am mom, you are not. These young kids, these young parents, we got them so skittish, so nervous. You leave him on the pot for 3 minutes too long, he's going to grow up to be a tattooed-faced motorcycle gang member on Springer. You named him John because you were hoping it would help in the toilet training. What is happening? Don't have time to get all the factors in undercutting you good folks. And I'll tell you what, the folks who are most faith-filled are the ones who are getting the most undercut. And what I'd like to do is just share with you a couple of those reasons why that's happening. And Mars, I'll tell you, I would like to give them a lot of the reasons. But given what you're paying me, you're lucky you're getting verbs. Big factor between the generations, undercutting authority, peace of mind, strength of will, resolve, is standing in front of you. Me, the shrinks, the experts. I'm everywhere, crawling all over women's magazines, all over television, radio, putting out thousands of books and articles every year. Net message, what do you know? You're just a mother. Yeah, you can stumble your way along. Hopefully you won't foul it up too bad. You want to do this right? The new modern psychologically enlightened way? Yep. Got to be state certified, congressionally mandated child development ring, psychomental international on Oprah specialist. Why do we discipline kids? Parents will come to me and say, this discipline thing, this is a lot tougher than anybody ever prepared me for. Give me a technique that works across the board. I did. I developed it since I saw you folks last. Best technique I've ever seen. You want to discipline any kid less, do one thing. Lower your standards. You get them low enough, you don't have to discipline at all. I told you, quit doing drugs in the living room when we have visitors. We discipline because we love, because we can't establish morals and character without it. And you know why else you discipline, dear people? Because you get accused of being too strict, having your standards too high, anti-cultural, all these things they throw at you because you have values that 50, 80, 100 years ago were right smack in the middle of the mainstream. And I will tell you this, if you don't discipline now because you feel guilty, or you're afraid he won't like you, or you're afraid of doing something psychologically incorrect, or your mother-in-law thinks you are the biggest she-witch to fly the face of the earth, we are turning our kids and our grandkids over to them. I guarantee it. They will be disciplined. A judge, a landlord, an army sergeant, a police officer, an employer. I shudder at this next one. A wife. Somebody's going to teach them. And the world hurts. I tell folks, discipline without love may be harsh. Love without discipline is child abuse. Ultimately, that kid is going to crash against them, and he's going to get hurt. There's only one person who ever conquered the world, and it wasn't anybody that we have as offspring. Now, part of the problem is, I was 3 years old, and I said this to my mom. I don't like you. She looked at me. Raymond, you're a little behind. Stopped liking you last year. You know, that was back before you could psychologically smack parents around, you know. One of my kids tells me I don't like you, so what? I got 5 or 6 who do. Yeah, it's one of the great benefits of big families, you know. Your kid says, I don't like you. That's all right, I got a bunch that do. Don't worry about it. There's an interesting phenomenon that occurs in my office. A parent will come in, describe a litany of trouble about this long. Then they'll say this, I think I'm giving you the wrong impression. Overall, he's a pretty good kid. And I'll ask, how is that? Well, he's not on drugs or anything like that. One of the new moral high bars, he's not on drugs. I ask my clients, what do you want looking back at you at age 22? What would you hope to be able to say about that child? No guarantees now, but hope. If you're content to say, well, given the way a lot of kids are turning out nowadays, I'm counting my blessings. Parole officer says one of the nicest kids he has. I tell him, you don't have to parent that hard. Parent like them. You'll probably have a kid not on drugs. But if you wish to look at that child at age 22 and say this, I think he's 1 in 100. Morals, character, compassion, seeks God. That's a beautiful human being. I challenge my clients. You prepared to be a 1 in 100 parent then, folks? You can't parent like them anymore. They'll take you places you don't want to go. They supervise here. They think they're strict. They should be supervising here. They're giving out social freedom 2, 3, 4, 5 years too early. Technical freedom 5, 6, 7 years too early. And you know what's interesting? Many of you who have raised your children, and you went against the culture to do it, and you got critiqued every step of the way. And then you hear this. You really got great kids. And my wife one time, after she was getting a lot of grief from one of the ladies at church about her standards, and then they said, you got a great son there. And she said, well, which is it? Am I too strict with my standards too high, or do I have a great kid? It can't be both. And part of the problem, too, is you don't get credit for it. You are so lucky. You just got good kids. You have Chastity and Angelica. I didn't get good kids. I got Chucky, Damien, Cujo, and Lucifer. Like it was the luck of the draw, I just got bad kids. The experts don't think like you. Go to the computer and type in child self-esteem search. Last I looked, over 100 million options. The experts believe self-esteem is the preeminent moral virtue. Type in child humility search. When is the last time you heard a secular expert talk about humility, which is a virtue right at the center of what we want to teach our kids? My humility is something I'm very proud of. I got a new book coming out. Somebody asked me over in the vendor's table there. You got a new book coming out? I do. The 3 most humble people I know and how I taught the other 2. Can you imagine our Lord going up to the apostles? Simon, there for a while I toyed with changing your name to Peter. I decided against it. I didn't know what that would do to your self-image. You've always seen yourself as a Simon. I go changing your whole identity now. I don't know what untoward psychological ill effects that might have, but I'll tell you what. I've spoken to my father, and he and I agree. You have a future in this operation. If you can conceive it, you can believe it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. 12 more weeks of Tony Robbins management courses, Simon. I always wanted to go to confession like the politicians. Bless me, Father. Mistakes were made. And I'd like to apologize if God took something I said out of context, misinterpreted it, and became offended by it. Sorry for his sensitivity. I learned a lot of psychology from my dad. Boy, you got a boatload of dads in here. And by the way, that is the single biggest indicator of the quality of your families. You got a 50-50 ratio here. I don't get a 50-50 ratio when I go do talks. So women 2 to 3 to 4 to 1. Look at all the dads in here. God bless you guys, man. But I will say this. We're not as versatile at this whole thing as moms are, Moms are very creative. We dads were all sort of stamped out of the same mold. I finally figured out why that is. Do you know how moms have to go to Lamaze classes to learn how to be Maz? Dads must go to La Paz classes to get their phrases. First time I heard this one, I was 3 years old. You gonna cry? I'm going to give you something to cry about. First father ever to fling that one around. Raymond, you go get me something to spank you with. Fathers are generous people. My dad was always giving me stuff every day. Dad, I can't shovel the snow. I got a bellyache. Raymond, I'm going to give you a bellyache. Did you ever notice that? About your father, who's always giving you something? Now, Patrick is here. Now, he's a shrink. Where'd Patrick go? Did he leave already? He walked out on me last night, that bum. And shrinks always talk about iMessages. You got to use iMessages, not you messages. My dad was 25 years ahead of iMessages. He would take nouns, change them into verbs with an iMessage on my head. Dad, I got peanut butter on your vice grips again. Raymond, I'm going to peanut butter your head. It was always some iMessage up here. You are not going to find I'm going to peanut butter your head in any discipline book. I have looked, it is not there. By today's enlightened psychological standards, my father was a barbarian, a parenting Neanderthal. Judge it by the acid question. Not was he psychologically correct, folks. Our culture is in big trouble when psychological correctness is replacing moral correctness. When more people are asking the question, is it normal, rather than is it right? Perfectly normal for a 3-year-old to meltdown fit on you. It's not good. 14-year-olds can get snotty and disrespectful if you let them. It's not right. The question is not, is it normal? Sin is normal. Is it good? For my dad, a high school dropout during World War II, his discipline worked about 50% of the time. That's sky high with any kid. Why? Two things. He loved me desperately, and I knew it. This is a relationship, dear people. This is not a psychological process. I tell the fathers all the time, okay, you got high standards, beautiful. Then hug and kiss those kids every time you get a chance, no matter how much, and tell them how much you love them. And do not let an adolescent tell you, you can't hug me in public. You can't touch me in public. My son Peter was 17. He played basketball. And I'd wait until the boys were hanging around there on the court right before the game. Then I'd go down and I'd grab my son and I'd kiss him. I would, right smack there. And you can see all these people up in the stands going, oh. And then, well, wait a minute. I'm a psychologist and you got to be very affirming. So I always said, Petey, try not to stink the joint out. And I said to him, hey, Pete, that bother you when I do that? He said, would it make any difference, Dad? No. He told me later, a couple of his teammates came up to him and said, I wish my dad would do that. Yeah, boys, do that, man. So one of the things that, at one point my kids were 12, 11, 10, 10, 9, 7, 4, 3, 2, baby. The remote broke. What am I going to do the next minute? My children are all adopted, all 10 of them. And I was talking to some of you, and some of you are adopted parents. One of the great things about adoption is the agencies don't tell you this. I figured it out about the fourth kid. If you adopt in December, you still get the tax deduction for the whole year. At least in the States you do. I don't know what you guys do up here. They pay for themselves that first year, then you start to fall behind because they eat a little more, but you can cut back on the food. My wife and I had this ongoing tiff as we got more kids. Ladies, I believe you will agree with me. First of all, my wife does not work for a living. I don't know what she does. Boy, they turn on you fast around here, don't they, Morris? I've seen what the woman does. I want no part of what the woman does. When the kids were little, she'd take them to a grocery store. I'd go. If I was heavily sedated, I'd go. Had to see it. Strung out behind her like ducks, hands at their sides. Now, I'll touch the thing. They would not deviate 6 inches either way out of a straight line the whole 2 hours they were in there. No, they wouldn't. Leg irons wouldn't let them. I got 3 white kids, 2 Hispanic kids, 2 biracial kids, 3 black kids. People would look at my wife. Some of them were pretty bold. Is some kind of club or something? Some of them wouldn't say a whole lot, but I could read their eyes. That major dork don't realize them ain't all his. I suspect her, but I can't catch her. Now, my children have what the experts would call risk factors. In psychological parlance, a risk factor is anything that would make a kid tougher to raise. Poor prenatal care, poor postnatal care, abuse in the womb, neglect in the womb, high maternal stress, low birth weights, heavy drug exposure, crack, narcotics, barbiturates, heroin, cocaine, nicotine, marijuana, alcohol. My son Peter, birth mom was told you're pregnant. Don't worry about it. There's a blood clot growing next to the baby. Baby grows, blood clot grows. Blood clot suffocates baby. Problem solved. Problem made it. Born 1 month premature, 2 months intensive care, but Petey made it. My daughter Elizabeth. Birth mom got pregnant in the 7th grade. Went to Akron, Ohio to solve her problem. At that time, she was in her 7th month. And so before they swooped in and made it part of our Constitution in Ohio, a conservative state, that abortions could be done up to the day of birth. She was in her 7th month, so she was a little too far along, and she didn't realize that. Now, of course, this is a very, very, very pro-life group. This is as pro-life as it gets. A lot of the groups I talk to are not pro-life. At the very best, they're amateur life. Man, what are you sitting by, IQ? And I watch their voices when I say this next part, because some of them just look at me with hostility. And I want to say, well, why? Don't you want to know what you're for? See, in the 7th month, of course, you know the baby's bigger, and you can't flush them out, suck them out. You got to pull them out. And they don't come out in one piece. You got to rip limbs off. You got to crush skulls. That's how you get them out, piece by piece. That little girl panicked. She called us the next day. We weren't expecting a 10th kid. We thought we were done at 9. I guess you could say Lizzie was an unplanned adoption. We weren't practicing safe phone. My son Samuel, 2 weeks before due date, birth mom was told something is very wrong. He's very small. Can we test? Tentative diagnosis, corpus callosum agenesis. Severe neurological birth defect. Worst case scenario, that's institution for life. You got to believe everybody in that 35-year-old birth mom's world was against her having this child. She went against her whole world to do it. She gave birth to Sammy. Sammy, just after 10 and a half years, has left the Army. He was in Fort Bragg, Sergeant G. No, I'm sorry, not Fort Bragg, Fort Hood. Sergeant G. It was a shadow on the ultrasound. The test was totally inaccurate. So my kids have this confluence of developmental gunk, that should make them harder to raise and slower to socialize, more impulsive, more immature, more learning problems, more quirks in their temperament. I got something like that. I would not consider any of my kids strong-willed. This dude is one toke over the line, sweet Moses. How could you have 10 kids under those circumstances, not consider any of them strong-willed folks? You know how everybody now describes children, and it isn't a comment on the kids, it's a comment on us. Mind of her own, stubborn streak a mile wide. This kid is so contrary, black is white, white is black, so independent, got to do what she wants. 8 going on 18. The child is 8 going on 18. Very high maintenance youngster, very high maintenance youngster, challenging child. The pediatrician told us the problem. We have a difficult child. Difficult child is redundant. Am I delusional? I think there's a simple explanation. Strongest willed of my 10 kids is not stronger willed than his mother. We got so many strong-willed kids out there, folks, because the big people have lost will. We're not as sure of ourselves. We're not as confident. We can't speak quietly once and follow through. We got to negotiate and remind and nag and question and use iMessages and active listening and passive listening and a sticker system with big stickers. That element of calm, loving, quiet, strong confidence. That's part of the reason why people gag when they hear you've got 4, 5, 8, 10 kids. They do. They look at you like, and you know what they're saying? I can't handle the 2 I have. I can't even imagine 6. Well, yes, but if you have calm authority, 6 is nowhere near as tough as 2 if you don't have authority. Sometimes I tease my clients. What would your mother have done had you talked to her the way your daughter is talking to you? Oh, no. I didn't. Why? You were a teenage girl once. I may have felt like it, but I didn't do it very often. Why? I knew. You knew what? Something would happen. What? I don't know. Why don't you know? It never happened. Why didn't you do it? Something would have happened. What? I don't know. Who's on first? I don't know. Third base. It's an Abbott and Costello routine, but you see what it speaks of, dear people. I call it the perception of authority. Many of you looked at your parents and said, you know, I just didn't do that. Why? I don't know. I just didn't. Because you perceived that quiet, strong authority. When my wife said, go to the corner, please. They knew they better go to the corner. She'd shut down their life. Not to be mean and nasty, but she'd take away every privilege they have. Some lady from church asked her one time, well, what would you do if you told your son to go to his room and he refused? She said, I don't know. And the lady said, what do you mean you don't know? She goes, they never have. Because very early she showed them, I'll make a simple request of you. I'll put a consequence on it if you disobey, and then I'm going to black out every privilege you have. I will shut down every single thing in your life except love, some kinds of food, and maybe the bathroom. Which is not a problem for boys because basically the world is our bathroom. You know? Son says, I got to go pee. There's your tree. Go ahead over there. You don't need these porta-johns for guys. Come on, look at that. You can all mix all those trees over there. Six of my kids, we got at infancy. 4 we got later. The twins were 4 when we got them. Birth mom ingested every toxin she could get a hold of. We don't know where the kids were the first year and a half of their lives. They went into foster care at about a year and a half until 4. Foster parents were sweet people. They didn't discipline them. They felt guilty. Remember what I said about love without discipline is child abuse because the world will hurt you? We've since found out that my son and daughter, John and Joanna, had a chance to be adopted prior to us, twice. We were not the first family picked. The other 2 families backed out. They met the children and they reacted. Ooh, no, thank you. We were hoping for something a little more along the lines of a child. You see what I mean, dear people? That little 4-year-old boy and girl lost a potential mommy and a daddy twice. Why? Because of their conduct. Why? Because the big people looked at him and said, not you. You're warped. I got to admit, didn't look too good. First visit there, Johnny punches me in the face. Attempts to strangle my wife. Kicked the foster father about 14 times during one of his semi-minutely eruptions. We walked out of there, and my wife had developed a tick. She was just going, jeez. She said, Ray, we got to rethink this. I don't think the tax deduction's worth it. I said, honey, you got 2 tax deductions plus the credits. They never made John go to bed. He roamed the house. He created all kinds of havoc. So the first weekend visit to our house, my wife says, Raymond, why don't you put the children to bed tonight? Honey, I'll give you $100 if you do it. I don't have time for that. I'm writing a parenting book. All right, guys, come on, let's go. Let's go, heading for bed. Everybody came running. At that time, we had 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 1. Everybody came running except Johnny. He just stood there. No, go bed. All right. I'm not a big guy, but I've been a weightlifter all my life. And one thing I know for certain, I am still stronger than the biggest, baddest 4-year-old in the whole world. The child is going to bed. The question is, under whose power? So I went over, kind of like the veterinarians tell you, don't tower over a wild animal. Let him smell your hand. Put my hands on his shoulder, and he could tell by my grip, this is how, shall we say, a non-negotiable psychological interface. Now, at that point, he erupts. Head starts spinning around, green stuff's coming out. He's leaking out of every body orifice. It's my theory on why God put holes in them to leak off the pressure. You get leakers up here, but sometimes you get leakers down here, And then you can get a puker. Now, the interesting thing about a puker is that they get themselves so distressed the first year or 2 of life, they throw up, but they develop out of it. Wouldn't it be great, though, Vicki, wouldn't it be great if you didn't develop out of it? Okay, Morris picks you up, first date, you're not real crazy about the guy, and he says, can I call you again? And you just go over to his car door and you lean in. Even he could pick up on that nonverbal. Johnny was not going to go to bed. So I picked him up above my head, off to the side, because he's dripping. Took him to bed, and I put my hands on his shoulders and held him completely immobile. I didn't hurt him. We'd already said prayers. We'd already brushed teeth. We'd already done the bedtime ritual. Johnny, it's bedtime, son. Daddy's not going to let you get up. I had to stop this because Johnny could do some damage, and we had little kids. Daddy's not going to let you get up until I decide you're going to stay, son. And please, don't get up after I leave, because I'll come back. You should have seen the look in his face. I went from Disney World to the county jail. My son Andrew, he's 6, up in the top bunk, he's watching the scenario. I say, Andrew, would you talk to your brother, please? Johnny, Daddy says, go to bed. You better go to bed. I remember one time, I didn't go to bed. You're not going to like what's going to happen, John. You know, you think that? You think he leaves? He never leaves. He doesn't leave, John. He goes out there. He'll be in the hallway, and he'll wait for you. And then when you come out, he'll crack your bottom. He don't care what the caseworker says. Andrew, that's enough. You sound like Mom. How long do you think I had to hold that boy before he went? It was under a minute. Is that because I'm such a great disciplinarian? No, my wife's a far better disciplinarian than I am. Perception. He was reading me. He knew I was going to be daddy. We'd visited many times. But he's sizing me up. This guy really looks like he's going to follow through. He means it. Plus, you know what? I had a tattoo put right there. Said, born to kick butt. I need somebody in here that has a 14, 15-year-old. Probably got a million of them. Yes. How old, dear? Who's the feistier of the two? 15-year-old boy, girl? Girl. Name? Daniela. Mom, after this conference, you guys go home. You tell Daniela. You know, Daniela was down there at the conference listening to that shrink fella, that Ron Ganoli or Roy Ganeri or Rick Gandhi, whatever that dude's name was. And honey, he taught me something. He taught me I owe you an apology. I've been wrong for a long time. Now that's a great way to introduce new discipline because it fluffs them up for you. Drop them. Honey, I've been letting you talk to us in ways that are no good for you and no good for me. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'm the parent. New house rule. From this point forward, when you get disrespectful, you're going to write, handwritten, a 400-word essay of apology on respect. If you argue with me, sweetheart, I'm not going to say a word back. I'm just going to look at you. 450. 475, I got 500, I got 500, I got 555, I got 525, I got 525. Now, Daniela looks at her mother as if to say, is that what you learned at your parenting talk? What are we going to do? We're going to say, well, you know, I'll tell you what. That might work with some kids. That's not going to work with Daniela, you know. She's too stubborn. No. I got to find something I can take from her. I'll put it in the trunk of the car. I'll back the car into the lake. That'll work. She won't get it back then. Mother, Daniela has no grasp of what you control. Electrical outlets, utilities, laundry service, food service, money supply, transportation, all links to the outside world, computer chips, the airwaves. You control life. So until you get that essay, which is now 800 words long, she couldn't shut her mouth the first time through. She's on what one of my clients called blackout. Blackout is complete, total cessation of every perk and privilege, as I said, except love, some kinds of food, maybe the bathroom. You know, I don't know how Daniela's getting to practice. There's no transportation. It's all shut down till you get the essay. You wash your clothes? Don't wash anything she likes, that's for sure. You don't have to wash anything if you don't want. Money supply? There's no money supply. So if she goes to school, she packs her own lunch. There's no money supply. All technology is gone. Outside is gone. Friends are gone. Perks are gone. You go out to eat. She sits and watches. She works on her essay. You haven't gotten the essay yet. Is this cruel? Is this smashing a gnat with a sledgehammer? If you can't do that, if you can't quietly say, you know what, sweetie, that's disrespectful, you go to your room. I'll come up when I'm ready. If you can't do that without an argument, without a brawl, without a resistance, without a fight, without a look that says, yeah, you in what army? You get ugly. You get really ugly, and you don't like what comes out of your mouth. And I said this last night. You go to the priest. Bless me, Father. You know, before I had children, I was pretty nice. Now, I'm not pretty or nice. That's what happens. Now, don't mishear me. You can get carried away. My dad got carried away. He said things made me neurotic. Raymond, you shut your mouth and eat. I'll teach you to backtalk your mother, young man. Come on, Dad, I already know how. I'll show you to hit your brother. Go ahead. You fall out of that tree, break both your legs, Buster, don't come running to me. We are a microwave culture. We want results. We want them certainly. We want them right now with minimal effort. I fall prey to this. I get up in the morning, put my mug in the microwave. I punch in 60 seconds. Down about the 30-second mark, I'm doing this. Come on. Come on. What's with this thing? I haven't got all minute. This has impacted our raising of children. How long is this going to take? You know that? I have tried everything with this child. Nothing works. Finally, I got so frustrated, I sent him next door to play. Moved the family while he was gone. Now, along the way, we tried things that would have worked. We just didn't stick with them. You know, don't you go to confession? Do you do this? Bless me, Father, for, well, I really don't have anything to tell you. I mean, given my age, I pretty much conquered every sin. I mean, how many years do I need to conquer a sin? 10, 12, 15? That should be enough, shouldn't it? Or are you like me? Bless me, Father. Okay, here's the list. It's the same stuff I've been telling you for 20 years. See, we're allowed to do that, but if this kid, after going to the corner 27 times, doesn't go, I see what you're doing. That makes such sense. That's why you're the grown-up and I'm the child. Alexander, Bell, stay with me. You guys embarrass me when I'm on the phone. You know that? Somebody calls her, I sound like a crazed lunatic. We have a new house rule. From this point forward, I get on the phone, you be respectful. Do not interrupt, and that includes this. I'm going to excuse myself from the phone. I'm going to put you in your rooms for the rest of the call so I can speak in peace. You come out, I ground you for the day. Now, my clients will say to me, okay, how long do I have to do this? And I'll say, well, 25, 45, 85. I have no idea. That'll be $100. I always tell my clients, I can give you all kinds of ideas. You know what I can't give you? I can't give you the will to do it. That's where it breaks down. It's not rocket science here, folks. You won't get away with this. Oh, hello, Monsignor. How are you? Thank you. We would be flattered to be the role model family for the church children love in. Monsignor, could you just excuse me for 1 second, please? I'm going to have a little love chat with the children. Yeah, they're precious blessings from God. You know how that is. Yeah. Yeah, we love them desperately. I wish we had 11, 12, 13 of them. Okay, they're getting antsy. Yeah, we're half hour past rosary circle. Okay, yeah, we still pray it on our knees in broken glass in Aramaic. Except when we're levitating, huh? Okay, we love you too, Monsignor. God bless you. Peace to you, Monsignor. Harmony, Aquarius. Okay, just one second. Okay, now get him on the speakerphone. You're gonna die. I'm gonna rip your tongue out of your throat, wrap around the fence for the buzzard to pick at you, little maggot. Get away from her. What's that, Monsignor? No, that's the neighbor lady. She always talks to her children like that. We do pray for her. She does need a lot of prayers. No, I'll ask her, but she won't come. She doesn't like kids. A culture says, why? Will you tell me why that person is doing this? Boy, that's the number one question I now get as a shrink. Will you tell me how to make somebody else be different? Oh, I have a heck of a time trying to make you be different. But we don't look this way for a why. We look this way. Fallen human nature projects outward. Before I go, I just want to share with you a couple of whys, a couple of more common whys. Letter overload. Here's how it works. Take a kid, you don't love them. You don't give them discipline. You don't give them stability. From malignant neglect all the way out to permissive, spoiled, rotten, self-centered indulgence. You know, some children need this much parenting. You're parenting here, you got twice what you need. Some kids in the same family need this much parenting. You stay down here, right there, that gap, that child could start to look pretty nasty, pretty aggressive, pretty mean-spirited, conscienceless conduct. And then a guy like me does this. I've assessed that youngster. I've determined that youngster is a bit disordered. He has letters. He has ODD, ADD, ADHD, LSMFT, IRS, EIEIO. I start flinging letters all over him. These letters are pouring down on our children in obscene quantities. I'm not arguing that they don't exist, but they're pouring down on our kids. Part of the reason, if the big people don't do what the big people need to do, the little people start to reflect it. When the little people start to reflect it, the big people turn around and go, "What is wrong with you? Why are you like this?" Start looking here first. You can mitigate it or make it worse. You can't necessarily change the nature of that kid, because you know as well as I do, their natures are very powerful. My son John had enough letters after his name, he could have spelled another couple of names. None of which have panned out, except the letters I gave him. I diagnosed him. Behaviorally regressive, attitudinal trauma. B-R-A-T. Glad somebody was with me. I didn't even get to the T and he knew. You're familiar with it, huh? Old Danielle. Well, what about diet now? Isn't that a big one? Diet, cut out anything red, cut out anything sweet, cut out anything artificial, cut out anything that remotely tastes good. Give them a dry cracked wheat brown berry tofutti sandwich on bean sprouts. This kid will get better math scores, kiss his sister on the lips before he paints murals on the church ceiling. Well, there's one problem with diet. Oh, it's good for health and nutrition, that's for sure. Our kids' diets are atrocious. But the idea that if I eat this, I'm going to act like this immediately is a very weak link there. That notion's been swallowed whole by our culture. He went to that party last night. He had 3 Reese's peanut butter cups, 2 cans of Mountain Dew, and a Kit Kat. He came home and torched the dog. Now, I told those people, no Kit Kat. It was the Kit Kat. Probably not. Birth order, middle child syndrome. I tell parents, you're that afraid of middle child syndrome, don't have an odd number of kids. Got an odd number, have another one. Give one away, wipe out that middle spot. Those of you who have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids, you keep switching middle kids. When you had 3, your daughter was the middle one of 2, but now you got 5, and now she's kind of the oldest, and it just keeps shifting. The only place birth order holds, a little bit. Oldest only. As a group, tend to be a little more independent, a little more achieving. Maybe they develop a shade quicker. I don't think that's their position. We all change our styles. That first kid, you boiled everything she came within 50 feet of. Last kid, you throw him this big dirt ball. Here, chew on that. Wipe your mouth off in the gas can before you come in the house. First kid, dual videotape of every burp and bowel movement he ever had. Last kid, 1 snapshot at the birth, 1 at the wedding rehearsal dinner. Dad, how come I got no pictures? That's not true, son. Your sister did a popsicle stick sketch of you in 1st grade. We kept it. Besides, you look like your sister. Use her pictures. First kid, you sneak into his room every night. You stick a mirror underneath his nostrils. Make sure he's still breathing. Last kid, you tell the dog, get out of the crib. Don't lick her in the face. No, it's talking to the baby. You don't know where that mouse been. Poor dog. Somebody asked my wife when our 9th one, Peter, was about 2-3 months old, Petey sleeping through the night yet? My wife said, I don't know if he is. We are. You kind of get to that point. And a word of wisdom to you grandparents, especially moms. The advice given to mothers and mother-in-laws on that daughter or daughter-in-law's wedding day fits well for your grandchildren. The advice on that wedding day is sit up, shut up, and wear beige. Unless that young person asks you directly for their advice, your advice. And if they do, you get them to sign something. Sign this. Read the cues if they don't want to hear it. If your daughter-in-law looks at you with a blank look or rolls her eyes, you don't keep doing it. And sometimes you don't even realize you think you're being benign, and you are. And you say something like, well, don't you think he needs a coat? And she's thinking, don't tell me how to parent. And you could say, well, I just was thinking you didn't do a very good job. I live with your son. And boys and girls are very different. When I was in grad school, there was a notion that there's no differences. This is all just social constructs. That's all. Subtle but very powerful gender norming forces. You give a little girl a front end loader. She'll carry it around for 4 years to become a special ops tank commando. You give a little boy a baby doll. He'll carry it around for 4 years and become a nurture and preschool teacher. 50% of little boys will rip the head off that baby doll and turn it into a machine gun. We are wired different. God says it. Human history says it. The research says it. For example, little girls, women, are more verbal than little boys. Men, they talk earlier. They talk better. They talk longer. That's why if a mom drifts into a discipline trap, it's usually something along these lines. Talk, talk, nag, nag, repeat, repeat, negotiate. Talk, talk, nag, nag, repeat, repeat, negotiate. If a dad drifts into a discipline trap, usually something along these lines. Tolerate, tolerate, oblivious, oblivious, ignore, ignore, kill! Tolerate, tolerate, oblivious, oblivious. You ladies are so observant. We guys don't understand this. How is it that you notice everything about everybody at all times, forever? To be used upon men who get to a point in our lives, if we even notice our wives are out there, we get extra credit. Hey guys, when's one of our buddies the last time come up to us and done this? Hey, yo, rock, Max. You guys notice anything different about me? I've been alive a long time. I am still waiting to say this. Leo, cute top. My little girls would come downstairs before Mass and do this. Sarah, what's the matter? Sarah, it's 25 feet from your bed to here. What could possibly have upset you in that distance? Okay, fine. This is touching me right here. I don't like the way this touches me right here. And my socks are twisted. They got strings on them. And they won't stay in a straight line. My boys will come down. James, is that pee on your shirt? You see it now, Dad? Psychological correctness is a quagmire. You will overthink, you will overanalyze, you will overtalk, you will underenjoy. You can get better at this, of course you can. You can buy my books and tapes. Ah! A little subliminal advertising there, nobody picked it up. You are the very people who are going to turn our culture around. You know that, don't you? Major cultural changes have only taken place with determined minorities. You can't get a majority degree on anything except maybe Elvis is still alive. But other than that, to see all you folks here, you can't know what it does to my spirit. It's unbelievable. And I sit and I listen to the total trash talked towards homeschoolings. Unbelievable. You know what the research says on homeschoolers? Check the research out. Better self-images, more able to relate across a spectrum of ages, higher scores by far on achievement tests, and accepted into colleges at a proportion much higher than the general population. So don't let anybody bully you into that crap. Bill Bennett was asked at a homeschooling conference, what about socialization? And he said, socialization to what? When you're talking socialization, you got to ask the question, what is socialization? Is it morals? Is it virtue? Then that's my job as a parent, not another 8-year-old, not another 22 8-year-olds. It's my job. I have some of the books over there. As I said, we ran into problems with the square. I think it's something your prime minister's doing. I don't know for sure, but he's tangling with Trump. That's a bad move. These two are the most popular discipline books. This one is the most common discipline questions I get asked, 2 to 18. This one is how the culture and technology can shape your kid. This is my wife's favorite, Jesus. Thinking Like Jesus, The Psychology of a Faithful Disciple. And then this one just came out, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. But this is there's about 12 or 13 titles over there, so whatever you can do is fine. I want to close with a touching story. This always moves me, because you have so many long-term marriages here, and I kind of want to celebrate them. Elderly gentleman and his wife were shopping. She bends over, she picks up a can of clean peaches, she sticks it under her coat, she tries to walk out without paying. Woo! Goes before the judge. What'd you do? I stole a can of peaches. How many in a can? 12. 12 days in the county jail then. She can't believe she's hearing this. Her husband's shocked. Your Honor, please, may I speak up? Go ahead. She also stole a can of peas. I'll see you later.